This is our third presentation here at the GGDA. Pretty excited about it. The first time we did a basic demonstration of how Fusion works. And then after that, and in the last one, we made some games ad hoc during the presentation. I think last one we made was a kind of a role-playing game of sorts, at least the battle engine. So what do we guys want to make this time? Does anybody have any suggestions? We got 3 of you watching so far. I should probably tweet this. Let me tweet it real quick. So we don't want to fail to tweet. Let's see. Watch me make a fool of myself online. And then post. There you go. Maybe that'll bring in some more viewers. So show us the templates and walk through how to use them. Well, you guys are using the word templates. There isn't much in the way of templates. It's a programming language. I could find some open source or what have you, but it's not a template-based engine. It's a programming engine. So I don't know if that's exactly what you mean by it. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. And then we can go from there. Let's see, share screen. Let's see if we can free you guys of my ugly mug. Yay! All right. So here's Fusion. I don't know, what are we going to make today? What can we do for a template? So in Fusion, we have available some tutorials, which I'll show you here. We recommend when you get Fusion that the very first thing you do is walk through all 4 of these. If you walk through all 4 of them, you're going to get really 90% of the basics out of the way, which is really good. As you can see here, the very first one is Choke a Break, which is the one, a stripped down version of it I did with you guys earlier. And that's basically your old bat and brick game. As you can see, if we go to the last page, or maybe the second to last page, you kind of get an idea of what kind of game it is. Then we go over quick physics. Then there's the all boxed up tutorial. So, what I think what I'll do is I'll do the all boxed up tutorial. I'll do kind of my own version of it. So for those of you that already have picked up Fusion or have our free version, go ahead and boot Fusion now. And then when you're ready, simply go File New. I've said it before. I'll say it again. 98% of our users make it this far. So if you can get into that 98% top percentile, you're good to go. If you can't get to File New, then maybe programming is just not for you. So that's between you and yourself. But anyways, hello, Noah West. Welcome back. So what we're going to do today, Noah, is we're making we're going to make kind of like an Angry Birds kind of game. We call it all boxed up. So the very first thing we do, just like we do all the time, is we go into our frame editor. This is the frame editor. Frame editor, again, is basically your stage to the game or app. The dotted line represents the actual resolution that you'll see the app in. The white space represents the actual active stage. And then the dark gray represents backstage, or where you place objects that operate in the background or that you'll pull into the front later. Now, the reason why I mentioned the dotted line is because if I go here and I change the frames resolution to something much larger, we'll do that and hit enter. You'll notice that white space is now grown off to the side. And the reason for that is here, this square here is what we're going to see, but this is also active stage. And so this is actually a quick and down and dirty method for scrolling. So we would actually scroll this entire grid across the screen. And you know what? For giggles, we'll just demonstrate that. So I'm going to grab a background object because, we got to have a background. I'm going to make it a gradient by selecting in the Properties tab right here, gradient. I'm going to make it vertical. I'm going to make the top color, I don't know, this kind of color, and then the bottom color a slightly brighter blue. There we go. Okay, so GGA wanted me to reinforce how I got a hold of the background object. So Fusion is an object-oriented engine. The easiest way to get objects in the frame editor is to right-click on your mouse. That'll open this dialog and insert an object. You can see here that these are all a ton of objects that Fusion can use, each one providing different functionality in your application. And the one I went with, by sorting on the side here, I clicked background and I grabbed quick backdrop. When I dropped it in, it was at a default state. And then by clicking on it, I was able to manipulate its properties. That's true. If you have the free version, there are limited options. The good news is, for those of you that are brave after this demonstration, if you want to pick up a copy of Fusion, I have several copies that I'm offering half off for this stream only. So if you're interested, let me know throughout the presentation. So anyways, back to our background. I'm going to go ahead and increase its width. And there we go. I'm going to create yet another backdrop object. Same process. This one, however, I'm going to go with motif. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the color dirt. Going to paint it here. And the color of grass. And paying attention to where I'm starting. You see down here, I get my XY coordinates. And we'll say 7, and then I draw. And then because I want it to wrap, I got to make sure that it connects to 7. Fill it in. I'm going to note over here that it's 32 by 32. I'm going to hit OK. And then here when I size it, again in the properties, I'm going to change that height to 32. I'll just get one row. Hello, Clickteam Daniel. This is one of our guys from the UK. I'm going to try to make a kind of dirty version of Angry Birds. Now we're going to stretch this bad boy out to the same length of the frame, which is 2000. There you go. And you can see how it stretches all the way across. So now I'm going to create something to shoot. This time I'm going to get an active object, which we have right here. An active object is basically a sprite in programming parlance in Fusion. It's collidable, it's testable, it's manipulatable. I'm going to drop it into my frame. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call it Thing That I Throw. Before I get to art, I'm going to mess with it right now. And I'm going to say, just to illustrate how scrolling works, I'm going to just give it a bouncing ball movement. I'm going to make sure it goes in one direction. Now, if I was to run the application, and we do that up here with our run application and run frame. Well, Chris, why do you have 2 run buttons? That's a great question. Run application runs the entire project. I'm going to go back to the storyboard editor, and you can see here we have 1 frame. I could have multiple frames and jump between them, each frame having its own code base. When I run the application, it'll allow me to jump between frames. However, when I run just the frame right here, then whatever happens is going to be limited to this particular frame. So I'm going to run it. I'm going to run the frame. And you can see that our thing that I throw went off screen. So the scrolling comes in like this. We say always. Actually, in this case, we're going to say if the count is greater than 0. And the reason we're going to do that is because when we get to building the game, we only want to scroll when we shoot something. So now that I've compared, is there more than one thing that I throw? I go to the storyboard controls, and I say scrollings, center window position and frame to the object that's moving. Again, in Fusion, programming is simply a series of if and thens. My ifs are here, and my thens are here. We call those actions and conditions. It's part of what we call ACE. The E is expressions, and we'll see that in a little bit. So if I was to run the application again, I'll run the frame. You'll now see that I'm moving the screen with the ball. You can see the ground moving down here. So that's how we do scrolling, and that's why you sometimes have a frame larger than the actual resolution of the application. So let's get to shooting stuff. Next thing we need is another active object. I'm going to paint this a solid color. I'm going to go with a gray. And then I'm going to stretch it out. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to trim a little bit off the top and the bottom. Fusion, of course, allows you to import your professional graphics into your application. As this is a simple, fast-made game, we're not importing graphics. We're having fun making our own. If you see anything you want me to change or you think I could add to make it look more ridiculous, please let me know. What I did right now is I moved the hotspot. So if this was a picture that you wanted to put on a cork board, this hotspot represents the pin. So I just put a pin through my image. And the reason why that's important is when I rotate the image, it's going to rotate along the axis of this pin. And because this is supposed to be a cannon turret, I put it down here so that it will rotate in relationship to the turret. Every good turret needs a base. So we're going to go ahead and grab another active object. We're going to go ahead and fill it again with a solid color. I'm going to bring it here. I'm going to size it so that it matches. Then through the magic of the picture editor, I'm going to delete all that. And I'm going to grab this, the circle tool, and make a half circle. Again, I'm going to place the hotspot in the center here because it'll be the pin that I attach the cannon to. Put the cannon up here just to show how it's going to work. And I want this to happen all the time, so my condition, my if, will be always. And that will be to set the position of the turret relative to the turret base. Now let's run it. And you can see that it snapped onto the turret. Let's remove our cannonball real quick, or our thing we're throwing. And you can see now that the cannon repositions itself. Now we're going to make the cannon move, right? So we'll do that by creating a, I don't know, we'll position its angle with the advanced direction object, which is yet another object that Fusion provides that allows you to work easily and make changes. I want to put it up here. When you run your app, you're not going to see it in the app anyways because it's by default a background object. But for organizational purposes, I put it up here. Now, I mentioned earlier expressions, actions, conditions, and expressions, ACE. We're going to be using an expression now. We're going to set the angle of the turret by using an expression. This is the expression editor right here. The expression editor allows me to input formulas, do math, and pull data from other objects like the advanced direction object. So using a non-decimal or just integer-based value, I'm going to ask for direction. And then I get these four values, which is x, y, and xy. So now I can go to the turret and say, what is your x position? And then I can go here and get the y position. And then here, I'm going to type in x mouse, which gives me the mouse x position, and the y mouse position. And we'll go with minimum quality because we don't need quality. This is just a fun game. And there we go. Now the turret's moving. Snazzy. So we escape out of the game. Now we've got a turret moving. Now, because I want to make this a physics-based engine, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply in my ground right here into the properties. I'm going to give it an obstacle so that it's collidable later. And then I'm going to give our turret ball, I'm going to make it look like a ball. So let's go here. Let's erase all this good stuff. And let's give it a cannonball feel. And no, I don't mean the series of 80s movies. I mean the kind of stuff that shoots out of a cannon. Cannonball Run, that's it. Great stuff. There you go. Our cheesy cannonball. All right, I'm going to move that off screen because it's not going to be used until later. Now, earlier I gave it this particular movement, the bouncing ball. I'm now going to switch it to what we call the physics bouncing ball. So Fusion provides you built-in physics movements by the use of the Box 2D physics engine. It gave me a warning because I don't have the physics engine in yet. So we do that simply by going in here and finding where it is. I have to remember the name of it. There it is, physics engine. All right, so back to the event editor. Now we're going to create an event to shoot stuff. I'm going to use the mouse button as our trigger. If the user clicks with the left mouse button, that's our if, our condition. Then we're going to create the cannonball in relation to the turret. Then we're going to set the angle or direction here. And we'll pull the angle using the expression editor of the cannon. Hopefully I got this right. And we can see that it's kind of working. So now we got to figure out where I've gone wrong. So I'm going to go to the movement tab. Debugging in Fusion is really not that hard. It's just simply going through. So it looks like, guys, everybody wants me to hurl tomatoes. Okay, fine, tomatoes. These guys. Gotta have tomatoes. Okay. Tomatoes, of course, have to be a little squatter. And then we got to pull a little bit of the divot out at the top. Then we need some green stuff. There you go, tomato. Anyways, back to debugging. And if any of my Clickteam associates can tell me exactly what I'm doing wrong, that'd be great. So now, because I changed the random direction to shoot in only one way, it's working correctly. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to movement. I'm going to go to physics. And I'm going to, don't see an option to change direction. Typically, we'll try it this way. We'll say select direction, expression. We'll pull the current angle of the turret, and then I will times it by 11.25. Because the direction system in Fusion, when dealing with the sprite's innate built-in directions, is 32. So to convert 360 directions to 32, you have to multiply it by 11.25. Still not working. Are we getting consistent results, though? Yes. See how it's giving me a consistent result? So debugging, again, is very simple. I'm going to go ahead and change this and see if it's actually passing 360 directions. It is not. I'm going to get rid of the angular. Well, that's just horrible, isn't it? All right, let's try something else. Let's change it to static movement. Let's make sure the hotspot's in the center. There we go. Let's run it and see if that helps. Okay, now it's consistently going down. Movements, physics, set angular velocity, get angle. Oh, that's why, because it's not angular velocity. And I determined that because when I was setting the angular velocity or thinking that was the right way, Fusion provides you hints for the uninformed. If you look here, you can see that it's telling me that the value should be negative 250 to 250. So this is actual thrust, not the actual angle. So that's always a good tip when using Fusion. If you get lost in the expression editor, look up at the top corner, and it may actually tell you where to go. Not doing very well, am I? Yeah, don't turn this into an FAQ. That would be not smart, my illustrious friend. Objects. World. What's funny is I did this just a couple weeks ago without an issue. All right. Well, direction, select direction. We'll try this again. Angle, get angle times 11.25. And then I'm going to go back to the frame editor, get the tomatoes properties, and I'm going to give it a whole lot of acceleration with a different movement, I think. Off. Crank the speed up. All right, that's looking decent. Well, let's see if it changes. There we go. Nope, still a bug. Well, here's where you should learn to be prepared. I didn't know about this particular stream until about 24 hours ago, so I didn't have much preparation time. So Daniel or Try, can you maybe help me figure out where I'm screwing up? Well, that's, yeah, the result should be 0 to 32 if I was not using physics, but I'm using physics, aren't I? Ah, divided. You're right. You probably nailed it. It's close. I'm adding this additional line to destroy whatever tomato's already out there, in case it's already out there when I shoot a new one, so we can test better. So that shot correctly. That did not. Well, what have I learned today? I've learned that I hate our physics engine. Oh boy. All right. It's ridiculous. Why can't I figure this out? Yes, E does equal MC squared. Don't think that helps here, though. Well, let's go to the tutorial, and maybe it'll tell me. Because obviously, 11 years using Fusion, I'm not figuring it out very well. So I'm going to blow through these steps real quick. The box is static. I knew that. Stop. What movements did they give it? That's right. Every mistake is more valuable than a success. I completely agree with Albedo Grace, and I appreciate that. That's funny how it's still not telling me what the movement type was. Well, here we go. Bouncing ball movement. All right, so let's do that. Here, bouncing ball movement. Good. Set its collision shape to circle. That should have been defaulted. Yep, it's down here. Circle. Not going to worry about that yet. That's the speed of which we're going to shoot it. Okay, those are the collisions that we'll get to. That's easy. And we create the object, which is what I was doing. Oh. All right, we'll give that a shot. So what they did here is they had a separate object, which we'll call mouse tracking. They positioned the mouse tracker to consistently run with the mouse. Okay, so when we run it, you'll see that I now have this cursor following the mouse. And then, if I read it correctly, create the object, the cannonball, relative, look in the direction of. So we create it at the cursor, at the cannon, and then we say here, direction, look in the direction of the cursor. Let's see if that worked. And it totally didn't work for whatever reason. Well, the gravity's too high. That's a suggestion. The gravity's too high. Let's take a look. We have our gravity set to scale 100. Well, let's cut it in half. Put it to 0. See if that changes anything. Now it's just shooting straight. Definitely, as you can see as we debug it, that when removing the gravity is definitely not reading the new direction. So that can't be it. The cool thing again about Fusion is as I debug my code, this is the event list editor, which gives you the main loop look at your code. I can't have a actual syntax error. The only errors I can have is because I'm an idiot and I haven't done my logic correctly. Yes, folks, you heard it here first. I'm an idiot. Yeah, thank you, Jim Asbade. We do love Fusion, and it's allowed me to create some amazing things. I was showing one of the other guys earlier today. I made it a completely procedurally generated game in Fusion, very similar to No Man's Sky, only mine's 2D and very, very chunky blocks. But yeah, you can build anything with Fusion. Apparently, you can build anything in Fusion except for this exact demo. But, you know, that's how it works. For those of you interested, I will be offering a couple copies of Fusion at half off at the end of the stream if my demo has not completely turned you off by then. Fixed angle box. All right. You know what? I bet you that's it. I bet you that's exactly it. Boom. We're shooting tomatoes now.
Shooting tomatoes.
Did you guys hear that? All right. So now we're going to put the gravity back up. So let's go to 50. Still not enough gravity. So maybe we'll go to 100. Maybe we'll slow down the initial speed. There we go. All right, now we need boxes. So let's grab a box. I'm going to draw us up a quick box. Rustle up a quick box. Everybody loves boxes.
How did you know that?
Every good box needs an X. Voila, boxes. No try. We're not doing box faces. Sorry. Not this demo.
You should. You should.
So we're going to put it here. We're also going to give it a physics movement, but this one's going to be static. Let's just leave it that way and see what happens when I run it. So the gravity takes the box and hits the background. So what we need to do to fix that is we need to create a collision. So on our event editor, we say, is the box colliding with a backdrop? If it is, movement stop. Boom. Now it's a physics engine. So what happens if I put another box on top of it? And I say, if a box collides with a box, stop. Let's see what happens. Boom, physics. So let's create a bunch of boxes. Multiple instances of the one object. Run it. Now we got a stack of boxes. And we got tomato shooting. Okay, good. I want more boxes than that, so I'm going to do this. Paste it up here. Run it again. Gives us a bigger stack of boxes that we can destroy. Now we're going to be able to destroy the boxes. If the tomato collides with the box, then destroy the box and destroy the tomato. Okay? And then we could actually do some effects, because you need particle effects for the tomato juice. So I'm going to go here, grab another active object, grab red for tomato guts, make a small circle, center my hotspot, name the object tomato guts. And then what we can do is we can say up here, creates. Actually, I'm going to use a fast loop. Start loop, make guts, do 10 times. This is like a subroutine in main programming parlance. So I've called the subroutine, and now I'm going to create the subroutine's actual activity, which is to create gut particles at our tomato. I'm going to give the gut tomato the pinball movement. You'll see why in a second. I'm going to create random directions that are randomly picked out of these options. And then I'm going to set the speed using the expression editor to 25 plus 50. So what that means is, let's look at it again in the event list editor. We got two conditions for colliding with the tomato and box. So the first one calls this loop. And so what happens is the main loop pauses, it comes down to line 9, executes this 10 times, and then resumes the main loop. When you get to line 8, it skips line 9 because line 9 is a subroutine and it hasn't been called when you've made it to line 8. Line 8 will actually destroy the objects. I did this because if I try to make all these cool gut graphics on this line, I'm going to have trouble with association. So let's run it and see what happens. And it didn't work, so we got to figure out why. Because I'm trying to create tomato guts from tomato guts. And at that point, there are no tomato guts. It's got to be from the tomato. Debugging in Fusion, again, is super easy. And now we're breaking apart tomatoes. All right, now that I've struggled through this and we have 9 viewers online, what would you guys like me to do next with it? Any suggestions? Let's see what people have written. Bombs. Okay, so what do you mean by bombs? Different ammo and switching between. Let's try that. We can do that. That should be pretty easy. So what I want to do is I'm going to clone the tomato. So we have the same movement and the same properties, but it's a whole new object. I'm going to go back to my cannonball. Cheesy cannonball. Okay. Put it over here. And then what we'll do is we'll create a global value. Fusion stores integers, floats, strings, booleans. You can label them. You can have them at a global level. You can have them at a frame level. And you can have them per object. We're going to call this one ammo. And then where we shoot our ammo, I'm going to add the condition. Is ammo equals 0? Okay. And then the next line is if ammo equals 1. But instead of shooting the tomato, we're going to create a ball relative again to the turret. And then I can simply move this event over here. Gives me the same result, and I can remove that, this being how we target the cursor. So if I run it and it's set to, in the debugger, we can see that it's set to 0. I shoot it, and we shoot a tomato. I go here, I set it to 1. And the game froze. Now, you know why that happened? It's because right here, we're asking if the number of the tomatoes is greater than 1 and center of the display. We also need to center the display on the cannonball, should the cannonball exist. Shoot a tomato, edit our global value, shoot a cannonball. Now the cannonball is not doing anything because there's no collision. And I did it on purpose because I wanted to do something different. I'm going to say if the cannonball collides with the crate, then destroy the crate. But I'm going to keep the cannonball alive. And then if the cannonball hits the ground, then we'll get rid of the cannonball. And the reason why we're going to do that is tomatoes breaks one. Cannonball breaks several. Now, how do we change our global values in game? You could do it all sorts of ways. We could actually say, instead of ammo equals 1, we could say, does ammo greater than 0? So our default ammo would be the tomato, and our extra ammo would be the cannonballs. Why would we do that? Well, because I'm going to clone this to give us another cannonball. I'm going to change its movement type to bouncing ball. I'm going to make it move up. I'm going to give it some deceleration. And then when we create the cannonball versus the tomato collision, I'm also going to add an additional one that says X, 1 out of every 3 chances, creates the cannonball relative to the tomato, and then add to that global value 1 ammo. The other thing we need to do is, if our little ammo, our little power-up pickup speed is lower than 2-ish, you could go 1, then destroy it, because that's simply there to let the player know you got a power-up. So let's run it and see what happens. Let's look at our global values. Now you see I have 1 ammo. So the next one should be a cannonball. Now I'm out of cannonballs. But I didn't deduct the ammo, so it's going to continue to shoot cannonballs. So to debug that, when I shoot a cannonball, which is here, we subtract from the cannonball value 1. So there you go. That's how you can add a power-up and change ammo. Tomato, tomato, tomato. Now we got a cannonball. Cannonball. Break up better. So Gymnast Batty said, it's not easy to make variable 1 equal tomato, 2 equal cannonball, 3 equal return to 1. Well, you could do that if you're saying you want to switch between them, is what you're saying. So let's change that up. Let's go back to here, and let's change it from ammo to equals 1. So now we're back to ammo equals 0 shoots tomato, ammo equals 1 shoots cannonball, which is fine. And then we're going to go here, and we're going to remove the add 1 to ammo. And we're just going to comment out this entire line. So now what we'll do is we'll say if the user right-clicks, then we'll add to the ammo 1. He's basically wanting to cycle through the ammo, right? So the first time I run it, his concern is we only have 2 power-ups. If I cycle through, it's just going to keep counting up. I think if that's what his question was. And the easy way to get around that is then just to say if ammo is greater than 1, then set ammo back to 0. So now if we look at our global values in the debugging tool, we got 1. I click it again. It should be 2, but once it goes 2, it'll see that it needs to go back to 0, and there we got 0. Does that answer the question, Gymnast? Bad E? Okay, cool. Bob Ohms, Countdown Explosion. There you go. Yes, you could do that. That's easy to do, GGDA. So what we could do is we could start by making this a global object. I'm sorry, a qualified object. So we'll call this, I don't know, I think we got blocks or something here. Let me see. These are all what we call qualifiers. They allow you to group objects together. I'm going to go with obstacles. Then I go into the editor, and I say replace by another object, and we switch it to qualifiers. And you'll notice that all my code is now changed to the qualifier. So if I run it, I should get the exact same effect, which I do. And what we'll do now is instead of destroying the object, like we do here, we'll subtract from its global value A1. We want the crates to break immediately, so they just get 1. But as he mentioned, a steel block, let's clone it. Let's color it slightly different. That becomes our steel block. Maybe it takes 2 hits or 3 hits to break. So we'll put a bunch of these in the front to test. The final thing we need to do is say if the breakable's alterable value A is lower or equal to 0, then destroy it. And this one also needs to subtract, and then we'll run it. So let's shoot a tomato. 1, 2, 3. But those only take 1 hit. So I hope that answers the question, GGDA. And you can see how quickly I was able to pull that off. Scoring, sure. You can use the built-in scoring function for Fusion if you want, which is located under the player object. You can have multiple player objects for the number of players that you have in your app. And the way we could do that is we could simply go here, go to another multiple value, which we'll name it this time, call it score. That's a reserved name. When you see that, that means it's a reserved name. So we'll say box score. And I'm going to say the bricks give us, the box gives us 5. And these guys give us 20. So then on this line here where we're determining that it's time to break, we're going to add to score that global value, that alterable value B. Okay? And then finally we put in here the games score object, drop it in. It gives us a number. And then we run our app. Yeah, that's why I didn't line up. I'll have to fix that. So there you go. I got 5 points. 10 points. Just got 30 points. And there you go, score. What Daniel there is pointing out is that I named where are my global value? On the boxes. Okay, so I named this one box something spelled wrong, and on this one I spelled it correctly. So if I make the two match, currently if you look at alterable value A, it just says alterable value B. That's because the two values in the group don't match. If I make the match, I go back, it should now pass on the proper name. as you can see right there. So yeah, score done really quick. Anything else, guys? Sure. So let's say we add lives. And let's say if tomato collides with the backdrop. Okay, so let's say if the tomato collides with the backdrop, we'll destroy the tomato and we'll subtract the life. Then we say if number of lives reaches 0, or I just like to practice this way. I always compare and write my own expressions, lower or equal to 0. Then we'll jump to a frame, but I need the new frame. So let's get rid of these. We'll go in here. We'll drop a high score table. We'll go back. If number of lives reach 0, then right here, under the storyboard tool, you say jump to frame. So let's get some points. Okay, and then let's intentionally lose. 1, 2, 3. Boom, score. My game sucks awards. There you go. So yeah, that's it. That's what we're doing. Again, if anybody enjoyed the demonstration and wants to get into Fusion that doesn't have a copy yet, stay after the end of the demonstration, and I have some copies half off. And I appreciate you guys coming and taking a look at my pretty bad demonstration this time. But thank you. And man, Fusion on. Oh, I made you guys a mem.
Cool. All right. Let's see here. What did I do? There it is. There I am. But you can't see me yet, but you can hear me. I'll let you see me here in right about now. How's that? Ha-ha! Hey, look, I'm back. And look, Chris is here. No, wait a minute. Chris is here. I can't. Oh, there. Yes. That's weird. Technology. That's fun. Hey, that was really cool, man. Was not expecting an Angry Birds tonight, but way to go. Way to do it on the fly, and it was actually pretty informative. Everybody else, thank you so much. As Chris has mentioned, we do have a couple of codes to give away. If anybody is interested, please say so in chat and make yourself worthy of drawing for half off of Fusion 2.5 Standard. I got one hand raised, J. Cole 786. Hey, Jay. Jacob, yeah. It's good to see you again. Some of your Click Team guys says that they think they'll pass, but in the meantime, I got to run through my little talky-doos. That's right. Well, before we get started, yeah, you see this awesome-looking shirt. You can have one too. We have a cafe press, so I'm going out of order, Andrew. Sorry. But yes, this shirt looks really good. You can get it in different colors. But I know for a fact I can go tank right now because it's giving me more HP. It's your time to go buy a shirt. Go buy a coffee cup. It gives you more intellect. Go buy something. Buy it now. All right. Moving right along. We are a nonprofit organization, so we have a Patreon set up. Your support will help us with efforts to improve game developers and their community, as well as helping to bring better games to life, like Angry Birds tonight. Or, well, it wasn't Angry Birds. It was a mock-up version of Angry Birds. All right. Tomato Birds. I don't know. What did you call it?
It was Angry Birds.
Hungry Birds. Is that what we're calling it? Okay, cool. All right, moving right along. Live streaming workshop on Saturday, August 19th from 1 to 3 p.m. at Eastern Standard Time here in Georgia. Live streaming is becoming one of the most popular broadcast platforms and certainly the fastest growing. So join us as we put on a 2-hour workshop on how to make the most of the future of media. You can also join us live right here on this channel. So I'm hoping for some kind of infinite loop here of streaming and learning how to stream on a stream. Anyway, if you're in Atlanta for the first weekend of October, Jesse Shell is going to be our keynote speaker for Siege. You should come out to SiegeCon. It is a great time to network and learn more about making games. I have lots of fun. What? Oh, okay. Also, if you if you like making games, or if you're into game development, or if you even just enjoy games, our channel is constantly recording, and we take these videos and we put them up on our YouTube channel. So check out our YouTube channel. We've got tons of content out there, from first looks, personal interviews, workshops like tonight, and so much more. Lots of good stuff out there. Go check it out. Finally, Antlion Audio. You're going to get to see their pretty cool commercial. They've got some crafty ones. They are doing a promo for 10% off all mod mics and Antlion accessories. All you got to do is use the code GGDA, and that special will end by September 4th. Other than that, my name is Brian Miller, station manager for GGDA, founder of Zapmill LLC. Let's see, did we get any drawings yet? Or how many hands do we see go up for drawings? I know I saw at least one. That was J. Cole. J. Cole, you feel good? Let's see let's do one anyway. Let's do a giveaway. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ha! There you go. Gymnasty Bade won the giveaway. Cool. Chris, you got the code? You want to give it to him? You want to whisper it to him? Or you know how to?
I don't have any codes. That's why I was doing the 50% off.
Oh,
so,
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. The 50% off. How are you giving it to him? I guess I should.
If he's interested, all he has to do is email me at ccarson@clickteam.com, and I am on standby to take care of him.
All right, very good. Anything else? Wow, we got some last-minute viewers. Welcome, guys. Lone Wolf, everybody. I mean, check out this video. One more thing. Yes, GGA. What else do we have? One more thing. As we are thinking about the one more thing. What do we got?
Taylor, come here and make a funny face.
Yes, let's see more funny faces, because that is important in game development.
Pick the best funny faces ever. Are you going to do one? All right. Yeah, make it funny.
Ah, that is hilarious.
That's all right.
All right.
Work on it, kid.
So cool. Yes, good face. All right. So check out all the Fusion trainings at the YouTube link just posted. And I guess J. Cole's going to end up having to sing at Siege. Haha. At least I get paid to sing. Anyways, thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. I will stay tuned for the GGDA's Facebook page. Be sure to follow that for any future streams. Next week, we are going to have another workshop on Tuesday, and that is going to be with Diego Lizarzo. I'll pronounce his name eventually correctly. But anyways, he's going to be making a game in Construct 2. It's going to be pretty cool to see. And we'll have more streaming content like this in the very near future. So be sure to check out our Facebook, check out our Twitter. If anything else, scroll down to the bottom of the page and read more details. We keep that updated as needed. And so otherwise, thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Good night.